Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story? I have my own confession that I want to share with you, and it goes on like this. I want to confess that me and my husband, we are involved in these things of rituals, and I never thought that I was going to end up becoming a ritualist. Above it all, I never thought that I'll end up stealing my little sister's husband. My little sister, when she met her husband, me and her, we were still back home at our parents' house, and things were so hard. I had recently divorced my own husband, and I had returned back home as she had also returned back home. One day, that was when she said, "Sister, there is a guy that I met on Facebook. This guy is in South Africa and he wants to send me some money so that I can travel to South Africa and become his wife." I was skeptical about it and I was scared because I had never been a fan of this thing of online dating. I said to my little sister, "What if you go to South Africa and this guy, maybe he kills you? What happens then?" But she said, "But I love this man and I think that he's a good man." And then I encouraged her and I said, "It is fine, you can go to South Africa." So my little sister was the first one to come to South Africa, and then I followed her as well. She came to South Africa and she stayed with her new husband for about 2.5 months. One day she said, "Oh dear sister, I also want you to come to South Africa because I just discovered that my husband, he owns a house here in South Africa. So we have a full house all to ourselves. And I know that you are suffering. Things are not okay for you, and that one I know. I want you to come to South Africa." That is how I ended up being in South Africa and staying with my little sister, with her husband as well. Me and my little sister and her husband, we were now staying together, and then she fell pregnant. When she fell pregnant, she had a miscarriage. I just thought that maybe she was unfortunate to have a miscarriage, but what I did not know was that it was not a normal miscarriage, but her husband was a ritualist. When I came to South Africa, I even had my old Bible that I had brought with me from Zim. I used to pray, but my in-law, he never liked me to see me pray, and there were things that would happen whenever I would try to pray. Even if when I would be in my room, I would feel as if there was someone that was always watching me whenever I would try to pray. It reached a point where I told myself that it was far much better for me to stop praying, because what was the purpose of me continuing to pray? Whenever I would close my eyes wanting to pray, then I would feel that there was a person that would walk into the room wanting to harm me or even to kill me, and it will stop when I would stop praying. During Sundays, when I would tell my in-law that we should prepare and go to church, he will just say, "What is the reason of going to church? Let us just enjoy life. No need to pray, no need to go to church." So I stopped praying altogether. As for my little sister, she was always lazy. She was a lazy Christian. She never liked to pray. So now we were a family of people that do not go to church, just enjoying life, just lazing around. As we were living together, I really do not know what came over me, because I started to feel so much jealousy. I looked at my sister and I said, she is too young for her to have such a husband that is wealthy, that loves her. Why did she meet such an honest man online when we are suffering? We are the ones that are now desperate for marriage. She is still too young. She is not that desperate like the way that I am. That feeling just came over me, the feeling of jealousy, and I wanted to steal her husband from that moment going onwards. When I looked at all the people that were working for my in-law, your South Africans, even some managers that were white people, I said, "But this man is supposed to be mine." But this only happened after we had stayed together for a long time. As you know that in our Shona culture, it is a taboo, me as her big sister, to end up sleeping with her husband, because I am like a mother to her. When her husband looks at me, he must see me as his wife's mother. but me and him, we started flirting with each other. My little sister now, since she was married to a man that could afford, she would wake up in the morning and she would go to the gym. And whenever she would go out, me and her husband will start to make out. I would go and sit on his lap, and then we'll start to kiss each other. That is how we started sleeping with each other. It then happened that my little sister fell pregnant for her husband again. I felt so much jealousy and fear overcame me. I said, now that she is pregnant, and if she manages to give birth to the child that she is carrying, then it will be over. So what needs to happen is that she has to lose that pregnancy, and I have to fall pregnant for her husband so that I can be the first to give her husband a child. Then the man will become mine. All that I would do throughout the day, I would go on Google looking for ways to force her have an abortion. I bought some pills that I had found online that were said if a pregnant woman will drink those type of pills, then she will have a miscarriage. The day that it happened, me and my little sister were just sitting, and her pregnancy was making her to feel so lazy. So we were in the living room, and then she said, "Big sis, can you please give me some water? I'm feeling so thirsty." That was the opportunity that I had been waiting for. I took those pills and then I crushed them whilst I was hidden in the kitchen, and then I mixed with the water. I waited because there were a lot of bubbles that were forming in the water, so I did not want to give her the water whilst it had a lot of bubbles. I waited until the water had calmed down, and I went and I gave it to her. And then when she tasted the water, she was like, "This water does not even taste nice. It does not taste like normal tap water." And then I said, "When was the last time that you brushed your teeth?" Because since she was carrying a boy, she never liked to bath at all. She would go for days and days until she would be smelling without bathing. She was just lazy to do anything. And she said, "Yeah, it has been a couple of days without me brushing my mouth." And I said, "You need to go and brush your mouth, because when you do not brush, then it means that even food, your normal food, will start to lose its taste. You need to brush your tongue a lot so that you can be able to taste normal food like the way that it is supposed to taste in your mouth." She then got up and then she went to the bathroom. She wanted to brush her teeth. Whilst she was there, I waited and I waited, and I heard her crying and screaming in pain. I rushed there and I said, "What is wrong, little sister?" And then she said, "I'm feeling so much pain. I'm feeling so much pain in my uterus as well around my belly button. It is as if there is someone that is pulling it from the inside. Oh, it is so painful." She said the pain that she was feeling, it was as if she was a woman who was getting ready to get into labor. And I found out that the pills, indeed, they were working. I rushed to the kitchen again and I took more pills. I wanted her to have an overdose and I crushed them. I rushed back to the bathroom and I gave her a glass that was full of water for her to drink. She drank all of that water that had the pills mixed with the water, and after about an hour, she started bleeding. She was like bleeding a lot and she was feeling so weak. She then said that, "Big sis, I'm feeling so weak. Please, let us go to the clinic. I'm not feeling okay. Look at the way that I am bleeding. Please take me to the clinic." I said, okay, relax. Let me call your husband." I then took my phone. So what I did was quite evil. Instead of calling her husband, I started dialing random phone numbers that I knew that the people would never pick up. I kept on calling and I said, your husband is not even picking up my phone. I don't know what is wrong with him." I kept on calling and I was waiting for the miscarriage to happen. Even though there were always cars that were available that we could use to go to the clinic, but I chose not to do so. Anyway, her husband hated it. She did not want us to use the cars. What she would prefer was for him to return back from work and then he would drive with us into town or wherever we had to go to. So I kept on waiting, pretending as if I was waiting for her husband to pick up the calls. When I saw that she was losing a lot of blood, I panicked. And then I called her husband. Now I was dialing his real number. And I said, "Please, brother-in-law, you need to come here, for your wife is really sick. Please do come here." As for my little sister, she was now lying on the floor, and as the blood was bleeding out, I saw a lizard. This thing, Brother Nashi, it happened so quick, too quick, that I could not even process what was taking place, because I saw a lizard that was going towards the place where she was lying down, and then that lizard, within a few seconds, it transformed itself and it became a big monitor lizard. And then seconds later, it changed and it became a little lizard. And that lizard, when I blinked, I saw that it was close to the place where my little sister was lying in agony and she was in pain. But this lizard wanted to lick up the blood that was all over the place because she was bleeding quite a lot. But I was not done with my little sister. As I was speaking with her husband, I said, brother-in-law, you have to rush because your wife is having a miscarriage. She's having a miscarriage right now. My little sister looked at me and she started crying and she said, do you mean that I'm having a miscarriage, big sis? And I said, yes, you are having a miscarriage. Don't you know that a woman is not supposed to bleed? When a woman is pregnant, she is not supposed to be on her period and she is not supposed to bleed. If she starts to bleed, then it means that she is having a miscarriage. She cried a lot. She was so weak and powerless. She was lying on the floor. Then she started crying and she said, God, why? Why, God? Once again, I have had a miscarriage. Why? Why did you allow this to happen? That lizard that I had seen becoming a monitor lizard, I did not even know that it was a dogology that belonged to my brother-in-law, and I had assisted him because my little sister was going to lose her pregnancy for that lizard that belongs to my brother-in-law. It drinks the blood after the woman that you would have impregnated will start to have a miscarriage. Then after that, it will feed on the little baby. And I did not know that I had assisted him in that ritual after I had given her some pills that made her to have a miscarriage. And when I spoke with my brother-in-law, he then told me that he was confused. Since his wife was carrying a baby boy, he did not want to lose that child, for he was a boy. He wanted a son in his life, and he was thinking of returning back to the traditional healer who had assisted him so that he can negotiate with the traditional healer. If his wife would keep the pregnancy, he was going to be happy. My brother-in-law, he came, and then we helped each other to go with his wife, my little sister, to his car because she was feeling weak. She could not even walk on her own. We made her to lie on the back seat, and me and my brother-in-law, we were sitting in front, but I saw that monitor lizard again. As my brother-in-law was driving towards the clinic, but we went to a private clinic, he said, sister, did you see anything in the bedroom whilst everything was happening? And then I said yes. And when I said yes, he said, okay, we will talk about it later. We arrived at the private clinic. My brother-in-law, he pretended as if he was in pain and he did not want to go into the doctor's office. So me and him, we were seated at the reception area. There were other patients that were waiting. They were also waiting to see their own doctors. That was when we started to talk about it. I told my brother-in-law everything that I had seen in his bedroom, every weird thing that had happened. And he said that there was something that he was supposed to give me, otherwise bad stuff was going to happen to me. At the time when I saw this monitor lizard, it was still very small, but now this monitor lizard, it is very big. It is there at our place. It is as big as a small car. As I was explaining everything that I had seen, the monitor lizard, that normal lizard that was waiting to drink the blood of my little sister when she had the miscarriage, then he held my hand and he said, okay, it is going to be fine. I'll explain everything to you. In this place where we are, even though the people that were seated there, they could not understand the language that we were using, but he said, we cannot talk about it here. He then took the ring from his finger, and then that was when he gave it to me and he said, hold on to it, for it is the one that is going to protect you. My brother-in-law then informed me that there was no need to hide anymore, because he knew that I was the one who had given his wife those pills that had made her to have a miscarriage, even though that was the work that was supposed to be done by his monitor lizard. He said that he was going to call his Zangoma, who had helped him in those money-making rituals, to inform him that this was what had happened. He told me that he was a ritualist, and he said that he had done this simply because as a businessman, he needed some things. I even questioned him why he was doing such a thing, that he had these monitor lizards in his home, but he said that is how he had managed to get so rich in a very short period of time. He said the reason as to why he had stopped praying, because there was a time in his life that he used to believe in God. He even claimed that he went to Zim and he met the most powerful prophets that can be found in Zim. He said, that pastor, you know him, right? He's famous, right? That man, he made me to pay a lot of money, but nothing ever came out of it. You see, that prophet, the famous prophet, I was with him. I paid him to have a one-on-one with him, but nothing came out of it. That was when he decided that it was far much better for him to become a ritualist. When he finally met the Zangoma who helped him, he was given a matchbox, and inside that matchbox, there was a stone that was in there, and he was told that him and his wife, they were not supposed to fight. No matter what, they were never supposed to fight. And this theology of his, it does not like being in a place where people will be busy insulting each other. It is supposed to be in a home where there is peace at all the times. So in his first marriage, the woman he claimed was a woman who never wanted peace in her marriage, always fighting with him, until the day when she found that matchbox, and then that was when things got so bad. When things got so bad, that was when he returned back to Zim, to the witch doctor who was assisting him. He was then told that he now had a tokoloshi in form of that little lizard. He said by the time that he was given this lizard, it was so small, like a small lizard, and he was given a clay pot, and he was said that he had to pour fresh milk inside that clay pot. He did not know that, like a little baby, each and every newborn always survive on milk, maybe for 6 months, even up to a year, only on breast milk. And that was what was happening in that moment. He did not know that the more that he was feeding this lizard, one day it would want real blood. When it happened, he said he returned there. That was when he was told, your lizard is grown and it wants solid food now, and it wants blood, for it will survive on real blood. You need to give it human blood. Before this lizard had started demanding blood, he said, for a year, I was the most happiest man ever, because I told myself that being a ritualist, it is a nice thing, because all that you do is you offer fresh milk, unpasteurized fresh milk, to your lizard, and then it goes out there, it secures contracts for you, and make sure that it gives you money at all the times, only giving it fresh milk, no blood. He did not know that there was a day when blood was going to be required from him. Then after about a year, as he was feeding his lizard with a 2 liter of unpasteurized fresh milk, then it started to vomit all of the milk that he would feed it, and things got bad again. He returned back to that traditional healer and told the healer that this lizard, it was now weak and he was no longer making money, and then that was when he was told that blood was now needed from him. When he arrived in Zim, when he was told that he was supposed to give it blood, he was given a mission to return back to South Africa to find a new girl that he was supposed to date and stay with for about 3 months, and that the lady was going to die. That was when he returned back, and online he met another woman who was from Zim, who was working somewhere else, and then they started dating. He convinced that woman to come and stay with him. When they were staying together, then he had been given some charms in which this lady, each and every night, she would have terrible dreams about one of her auntie who would come to bewitch her. My brother-in-law was the one who was causing this girl to have those fake dreams so that she can think that her relative is the one who is bewitching her, yet she was being used by him for the rituals. After the 3 months, that was when she went to Zim, and then she passed away. Then the lizard started to survive, drinking on her blood. After that woman had passed away, that was when he was told that it was time now for him to find a wife, a real wife. That was when we came across my little sister online, and then they spoke, and my sister came to South Africa. He started to use her in the rituals. When she would go on her menstrual cycle, he would use the blood as well. Whenever she will have a miscarriage, he will also use the blood as well as the lizard feeding on the fetus. Since me and him, we saw that we could do this together, we sat down and we planned that we were supposed to get married to each other. It did not even matter that he was once married to my little sister, and I did not even care at all. We agreed that if we could be partners, we could achieve something that will be great. So me and my brother-in-law, we started dating, continued sleeping with each other. I fell pregnant after she fell pregnant, and she had a miscarriage. He then took me to the place where he did the rituals. So me and my husband, who was once my little sister's husband, we are joined together in the spirit and in the flesh. We are joined together. We are like one thing. If it happens that he dies today, I can still continue with those rituals as if it was him, because we were joined by the man who gave him those money-making ritual charms. My little sister, because of the charms that we were using against her, she ended up feeling so much discouraged in her marriage that she walked away. So at the complex where we are staying, there was this other woman. There is this woman who was being abused by her husband. She's a Tsonga speaking woman. Me and her, we became friends. The reason as to why we became friends, because I would see her sitting outside crying, and then I would invite her into my home. We'll sit down and I will tell her that one day things will be okay. So this woman, she became a ritualist because of me. I told her that I could offer her help. We went with her to Zim. Even her husband does not even know that his wife went to Zim and she did some rituals there. That woman, she sacrificed her own womb, even though my husband refused. And I said, but when it is you, if you want to help someone else, I do not even fight against you, because my husband, if he is really close to you and if he can trust you completely, then he can assist you, and then he can go with you to the place where he did the rituals, but not just everyone. So I assisted that woman only because I was feeling so sorry. The husband would be cheating on her as well as beating her up. So I used to feel so much sadness for that woman. That is my own story on how I became a ritualist and stole as well my little sister's husband. When you post my story, please tell me. I'll be following through in the comment section. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our sister. That was the translation of the message that was sent to me. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.